We went from 6 creators to 40 creators, 15 campaigns to 100 campaigns a month.
We just came up with $1 million idea right there.
LinkedIn's algo, it can be your best friend and worst enemy all in the same month.
Where the data tells a story that's gotta be told. It's the art and the science, get the numbers right. Brand Performance!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Brand Performance. Today's a special one. We have Aneesh Lal, the founder and CEO of the Wishly Group. Aneesh has a really interesting background. He's worked at companies like Coca-Cola and Pinterest, and then started the Wishly Group, which is an agency for B2B creators on LinkedIn. He's also known as the Jerry Maguire of LinkedIn. Let's find out how he got that moniker and what's happening with the creator economy in B2B. Aneesh, all right, I am so excited about this one. People call you the Jerry Maguire of LinkedIn. So I'm going to start with that. I was super impressed when I heard that. And I think, in our prep and getting to know you a little bit, I'm just very intrigued about the topic we're going to talk about today, all about creators and influencers on LinkedIn. But to kick us off, I want to actually start with a fun question.
Yes.
What is a brand that you really admire? A brand that's, doing really great marketing that you're jealous of at the current moment? What comes to mind?
So I'm fascinated by what makes people tick, right? I'm a big believer, like if you ever hit status as a D2C brand, B2B brand, whatever, if you ever hit like the if you know situation, that to me, I get jealous for that. I'm like, I want people to feel like I'm on the inside track. Like, oh, you're not part of Wishly? I want that feeling. So it's funny, like this is gonna shock your listeners, but like recently, and this is what boggles my mind, 3 things on the consumer side have really hit home, and I'm talking in circles that should not be there. Okay, Love Island, everywhere.
Okay,
everywhere.
interesting.
I don't know if it's a Canadian thing, but I'm seeing this in America too. Insane. Pokemon has made its way back to adults. Did not see that coming.
Interesting.
They have taken the trading card thing and done the original Pokemon cards and brought it back to they're calling it the 151s. I've heard about Pokemon cards from people who should not be talking about Pokemon cards. Okay. I'm just blown away. I'm fascinated by this. I'm like, how do these things happen? Right. And then I'm also like in love with, like the Spotify's of the world and the brand and the B2B side, Kajabi, Teachable, a whole bunch of these brands have done a really good job of humanizing themselves beyond what they do. They're getting influencers to talk about them in like a fun, creative, exciting way. And I'm like, that is how you spark conversations. But when you take a look at all these different things, I'm like, everyone here is sparking these unexpected conversations.
Yeah.
In rooms that they're not in.
No, that's great. I think it was a couple of days ago, I was talking to a prospect, and this is a data science professional, and they were talking about they had just flown from London to LA to participate in the Pokemon World Competition. And I'm like, what?
Stop it. You see what I'm saying? Like the fact that you responded with this, and we're in 2 different parts. Like I'm in Toronto, you're West Coast. Like this should not be happening.
I was like, wait, that's a thing? Pokemon has a world championship, and like adults play in this championship? This is just wild.
It's wild to me, right? Do you know how much the original packs, do you know how much they're worth today?
No, I don't.
This is, I think we're giving too much time to Pokemon here, but I'll stop after this. But like, just one of those booster packs, those packs of like 10 cards.
Sure.
It's like $800.
Wow.
If you left it unopened as a child, you had that self-control.
Wow.
$800. The Charizard card is like $10,000. I'm like, this is mental. Anyway.
We got to talk about this because I also recently came across another business, and I know this has nothing to do with what we're actually here to talk about, but this is fun. I came across this business called Courtyard. Have you heard about this?
No.
Courtyard.io.
Why does it sound familiar?
And it's a really interesting platform to trade collectibles. And so when I learned about it, and it has like an NFT concept, and you can buy something, and then if you're not happy with the value, you can resell it at 90%. So you're like always in the good. Like you can only maximum lose 10%. It was a wild business concept, and it's taken off like crazy. And so, I mean, yeah, if you know, you know. And I definitely am those things to know. Yeah.
I have friends of mine who collected those cards, and today they're worth like one of my friends has a collection of Pokemon cards worth over $250,000. Swear to God.
Oh my God.
Swear to God. I'm talking first edition, graded. Holy
And you just hold on to that. It'll probably be $1 million in the next few years.
Yeah, because now like Nintendo owns Pokemon, and they keep coming out with games every year. So you've hit the generational overlap. Now, these guys, like when I was growing up, Pokemon cards was everything in like grade 5. Like it was everything.
Yeah.
Now you have your children who are, I love Pikachu too. And game over. So now you have like, here's my binder, son. And it's like this moment. It's
all right, Aneesh, I just came up with the most brilliant idea. This might even apply to you. I think we have to start like a CMO card or an influencer card. And it's a card about like specific people at specific times in history, right? So we're talking about peak Udi at Gong, right?
That he's the first one that came to my mind when you said this. I mean,
right?
It's Udi card.
It's peak Anthony Kanata at Gainsight, right?
Yeah.
It's like you take the best of the best at their peak, and we have these cards. We got to collaborate on this.
I have to.
Okay. Whereas we just came up with $1 million idea right there.
The B2B economy is about to take off. Oh, I love it. I love that concept so much. All right, sorry.
No, I'm gonna sidestep completely and talk about your career. How did you go from, because you have a really interesting background. You've done lots of different things, but how did you get into this idea of B2B creators and LinkedIn influencers? Like, and also, why did you choose LinkedIn specifically? Like, tell me the backstory here, and how did you get into this whole thing?
Yeah, so I used to be the agency rep for Pinterest Canada. So I've worked in media sales my whole career, like at least 10, 15 years of just the enterprise top tier level brands. Like you think retail, CPG, luxury retail. I mean, the list goes on. If you name the brand, chances are I've worked on it. And I've always been a top rep at these companies. Like I've always performed well sales wise and all that kind of stuff. And I decided to leave Pinterest a couple of years ago to start my own fractional CRO business. That's what took me to LinkedIn. That's how I got into LinkedIn. I was posting content, just trying to make a name for myself around when the pandemic hit. And I helped build out this thing. Again, all just natural conversation on LinkedIn. One thing led to another. I helped build out Rev Genius, it's like one of the OG sales and marketing communities from 2020.
Right.
And so when I looked at this trifecta of things, as I started talking to influencers on LinkedIn, my very first conversation was with Kevin Dorsey, KD. I was originally brought in to help KD with his Patreon community. A lot of people don't know this. This wasn't like a magical, Aneesh is a genius, holy what, no, nothing. I went in, he's like, Aneesh, what you did at Rev Genius, you guys went from like 0 to 7,000. Could you go do that with my Patreon? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's try. And then as that conversation happened, I started I'm like, hey, KD, my media brain went off. What I did day to day. I was like, KD, if you bundle this, your webinar, your podcast, your newsletter, your social posts, like, forget the community of everyone paying you $10 a month. The brands will way more than that. And he's like, let's talk more about this. I get approached by just, they don't know how to deal with it. Right. So that's when it started. And then the reason why I've sort of blown this thing up on LinkedIn, we got 40 creators now, is because.
Wait. I think 2 weeks ago when we were chatting, you said 30. Like,
we're growing pretty fast. We've signed 10 since then. Actually, funny story. We've actually signed 10 people since then. And we hit the 100 campaigns per month mark in August.
Wow.
And the reason, and this is, we went full time into this August 6th last year, right? Wow. So 1 year later, we went from 6 creators to 40 creators, 15 campaigns a month to 100 campaigns a month. And now we're working with 60 brands every month. And when you take a look at all the different folks we're talking to and all this, like the reason why LinkedIn is what we've chosen is this is the next frontier for social media. And that's what I've been telling everybody. Like, this is the next place to experiment and to innovate. It's not as saturated as other channels and whatnot. I'm sure we'll get into that. But my combination of media sales, community, and the LinkedIn channel, just being in sales for so long, is sort of the glue between all that. That sort of brought us to this point.
That's a fascinating story. Very organic. I love that. I'm curious, like, you talked about sort of LinkedIn as the next big channel. It's not as saturated, and you use those words. What do you, apart from the saturation issue, is there something else about LinkedIn that makes it powerful? What's your take? Because you've seen Pinterest, you've seen other media. So what is it about LinkedIn that's different in your opinion, other than the saturation issue?
Yes, I mean, saturation aside, it's so far away from that. Like if you take a look at our influencers now, right? They've got this depth to them. The reason they amassed a following was subject matter expertise. So a brand's ability, a B2B brand, especially let's say your sales cycle is like 6 months, having someone like a Kevin Dorsey or a John Barrows or a Sam McKenna, someone like a top trusted voice talking about you, that speeds it up significantly. Like you can go from 6 months to 4 months. You know how much more opportunities that is? Like that maths very quickly, right?
Yeah.
The kids would say. And I'm like, this is actually very dangerous. Like when you can actually get, in a good way, like when you can get people to that just because they've mentioned you and they're so trusted that in the, let's call it the Zoom locker, the Zoom water cooler, the Zoom lunchroom,
Right.
this virtual setting we've all gotten accustomed to. It's like, hey, did you hear about that new brand that did this?
Right.
And then as long as somebody else is coming back and saying, yeah, Katie actually talked about, that's all you need to get to the demo phase faster.
Right.
It's all you need. There's two people at a company saying, yeah, let's talk. So that piece has been super powerful to see that we can influence that. And the fact that all these people have like this trusted credibility already because they've given for 8 years, 6 or 7 years, they've been depositing for so long. Now they're, now they're cashing in on it, but it's amazing to see that level of influence that's been there. There's no one's happy with it.
Now that's interesting because I come at it from a perspective of a founder-led brand, right? Nowhere near the followership or that, right? From a creator perspective, I put in, limited amount of time and energy into it. But I agree with you that there are people who will never like my stuff on LinkedIn, but they will DM me and be like, hey, I really enjoy the content.
Yeah.
It really helped me in, X, Y, and Z way. And it turns into a, butterfly effect. Right. And this happened literally where we are now in an RFP with a major household, brick and mortar retailer because the procurement person was related to a fan of ours because of our content.
Just
complete randomness.
You in your own self have influenced a backdoor conversation with a relative of, you see what I'm saying? Like, this goes back to what the first question was. The conversations that take place that proliferate brands.
Yep.
It's brilliant. And LinkedIn is now the world's largest water cooler.
I love it.
Right.
Okay. Now, one of the campaigns that we talked about was this Notion Faces campaign. I think that was a big win for you guys, if I'm not wrong. Tell me about, like, how did that all come about? And I remember it because people couldn't stop talking about it. It was all over my feed. And, why do you think it was that successful? And was there something that you learned about LinkedIn from that campaign that other people can use?
Yeah, there's a couple components. So a lot of people, just to quickly recap the campaign, there was Notion had a cartoon version of everyone's faces. That's why they called it Notion Faces. So I could go on a Notion and create like a cartoon version of Aneesh that was very like it's a pencil sketch version of my face. And they hired 50 influencers to do this. And one of our agency partners, Creator Match, their Notion's agency of record, they brought us on board as their number one talent partner. So we're on the talent side. A lot of people don't know this, but out of the 50, we had 20 of our creators were part of Sissy. Notion somehow even got Snoop Dogg to be a part of that campaign. I don't
Wait, really? I did not know that. That is wild.
Snoop Dogg did a Notion Faces. I'm not even kidding. So when you take a look at how many headlines that probably got alone, right? The whole thing it taught me was even a brand like Notion, which is about templates and project management and how to AI systemize yourself left, right, and center, they humanized themselves to the point where they were conversational. And from an awareness standpoint, because I saw comments go both ways. Oh, when this not linked is cringe. Some people are like, yo, this is brilliant. Like everyone's talking about you. And I'm like, that's what you want as a B2B brand in a project management category.
Right.
To start the year, by the way, that was a January campaign. Like we're in August now. We're still talking about it today. So yeah, it's just funny. It's just funny that they kicked off the year with brand awareness to such a high level, and notice what Notion's done since then. They dropped Notion Mail. They dropped Notion AI. They've dropped Notion Enterprise things. And now you're more likely to listen to them because of how they started the year. I mean, there's levels to this game, folks, and Notion just blew it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's wow. Getting Snoop is different level for sure. Okay, let's break it down for the audience and like how does a brand actually go about this whole process? So starting with how do you so you run the Wishly Group, right? Did I get that right? That's the name of the company? And so you have a roster of talent. How do you pick talent, and which, how do you choose between, hey, I'm going to go and solicit this person to be a creator on your platform?
Yeah. So I'm sharing a lot of information today. We have a 75-person wait list to get work. As of this morning, it's 77. Okay.
Nice.
And the way to get onto Wishly, first and foremost, you must be referred by an existing Wishly roster member.
Okay.
We've only made that exception for one person, and it is David Meltzer, who the movie Jerry Maguire is based on. So we
that makes sense,
right? That one I had to it is what it is. But for everybody else, it's been, you have to be referred. That's even to just make it to like meet with me, there must be a reference there. We have a whole framework though, that we use to evaluate talent. So first you're referred, that's your interview process. Then we go into due diligence, which is the 3C model. I look for credibility, charisma, and character. Credibility, a lot of people don't know. Again, I've closed over $50 million in sales and working with some of the biggest brands in the world. If you are a sales or marketing influencer, I'm going to ask you some shit.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go deep. And if you can't even go 2 to 3 levels deep of like why I'm like, oh, you're a curator. You're not a creator. There's nothing wrong with that. You're just not going to be on my roster, because brands need creators to be like, how do I take you're talking about and how I talk about it and make magic happen? A curator is not as strong in that skill set. That's true. They're just very good at saying so-and-so, and they're convenient, but they're not the artist.
Right? Here are the top 5 articles I read this week as a
which is still, well, there's utility, because I'm like, I did not have to go find those 5 articles.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna, like, you might be good for other, not good for our what we sell, right? So the credibility needs to be there. The second one is the Riz factor. Charisma is massive. You cannot be an influencer if nobody likes you.
Yeah.
Nobody has that. If you don't have influence, if people aren't coming back to your stuff over and over again. So your ability to attract and retain, second half, very important. Attract and retain consistent. That's your currency. And that one is very data driven, because I can take a look at growth of followers, engagement rates, and over time, and the type of content you talk about. Do you have other mediums, newsletter? I can figure that one out pretty quick. The third one's the hardest though, character. I cannot tell you the number of people who are on paper phenomenal creators. They got the Riz and they have the technical prowess. They have that. But the third piece is like, what do you like when the cameras are off? What do you like when you're at a conference and you've had 4 or 5 drinks or 2 drinks or whatever? 17, whatever. What are you having 17 drinks to begin with, right? We have such a good reputation in market, right? With the 90% renewal rate and the 60 brands and yada, yada, yada. I can never serve up somebody that's a risk now, because now you're not only representing Wishly and the brand is 40 creators, right? So we're so protective, and you better believe when I make a phone call to my 60 brands and 40 creators, I'm getting the tea on everybody.
Right.
I'm getting everything you've done in the last 3 years.
Kids, be careful out there.
People follow. People remember. People keep track. Screenshots are a thing. When I run due diligence and I hear something negative from 3 different groups of people who have nothing to do with each other,
right?
That's not a good look. Right. Yeah. So, and it happens. I'm telling you, it's happened more than a handful of times. I can't go into details, obviously, but it's pretty bad stuff. So I'm like, cool, you're good on paper, but unfortunately you did not pass due diligence. We won't be able to represent you. Right. So that conversation, unfortunately, has happened in the past. You gotta be very careful how you show up. But those are 3 P's.
That's great. The 3 Cs, I love it. You had credibility, charisma, character. That's great. Okay, so let's make it practical, right? So Paramark, we're a seed stage company. I was thinking about influencer, and I was like, I don't know. Like, if we sell $150,000 product or service,
Right.
if the person on the other side hasn't used our product or service, I felt like it would be disingenuous to have a creator talk about Paramark if they've never used it. So that was my mental block.
Yeah.
And then I heard Devin at Highline, and he was, by the way, giving you a shout out.
Send me a picture of that.
Yeah. It was really cool. And I heard his talk, and I was like, oh, I was just thinking about it all wrong. So break it down for us. Like, what should brands do when they think about influencer and do it in a genuine, authentic way? What's the framework for even thinking about influencer marketing and picking the right creator? And what is the brief? Like, talk to us about
I'll
that.
go through the exact playbook we use, and it's very practical. So if you want to cut this at any point, just let me know. But step one, first question I ask the brand is, what are the preconceived notions that exist towards your category? Not you, your category. So when someone says, I'm in the conversation intelligence space, you think Gong and Otter and all these. I'm like, okay, what do people just naturally who's your ICP like? What do they think about that category? Then the second question goes, relative to your competition, like what are the thoughts towards your competition? The good, the bad, the ugly. And then where do you fall once you've plotted your competition and the category? Naturally, after you do this analysis, and if you do it correctly, there's two sets of data. One of like, this is good stuff working in our favor, and here's the bad stuff working against us, right? Like Clay had to deal with this. Clay deals with this all the time. They're very well known, but one of the biggest preconceived notions towards Clay that hurts them is it's impossible to use.
Interesting.
Right? Like if you talk about this in general, people say, "Oh, Clay's very difficult to use." I'm like, have you seen like how much they grow? Like, they're crushing it, but like they actually use that to create a whole Claygency model.
Right.
It's like $1 billion industry on its own to be a Clay engineer, right?
Yeah.
So if you take a look at different brands and where they fall in that spectrum, the next step, if you're considering influencer marketing, is to find the creators that either organically with what they talk about, amplify what you're good at, or dispel the myths that work against you. And that part is missed often. People will just go like, oh, I love so-and-so because they have this many followers. I'm like, they've never talked about the problem you solved once. Maybe like this pseudo adjacent time one time. That's not what they're known for. You just want them because they're a marketing influencer. That doesn't mean shit. So that's the level of due diligence we need to go into to be like, hey, this one thing that just really hurts you? Well, Devin is so good at talking about this, and this, that he'll actually be able to quell that for you pretty fast before it turns into a fire. Right. And that's where the real magic happens. It's boring. It's super analytical. That's why a lot of people avoid it. The beauty's in the unsexy, folks. That's the
yeah, totally. Got to do the hard work,
and that's what it is. So a lot of people miss that.
Very cool. Okay, and talk to me. There were other things that Devin talked about, which was like, hey, don't just like buy a one-off. We're gonna test it with one post. Like, what are some of the other things that people get wrong in influencer marketing, and what does the best in class look like? Right.
Yeah.
And teach me, like, if I were to do this at Paramark and we were to work with Wishly, what would that look like? After we've done that, the analysis that you talked about, which is these are the feelings that we want to amplify. These are the feelings that we want to dispel. Right. What comes after that?
So let's say we find the right creator at that point. The next step here is to go in the multi-channel, multi-month approach. A lot of the times when brands are experimenting, they're like, Aneesh, how much for one or two posts? I'm like, that,
right.
Save your money. Don't even do it, because it is the most unpredictable algorithm out there. LinkedIn's algo is just, it can be your best friend and worst enemy all in the same month, right? So we like to go multi-channel, multi-month, so you're able to get more data and go deeper with creators' followership. So someone like Devin, right? He's got a newsletter. He's got social posts. He has a podcast. He does webinars. He's phenomenal on camera. He's smart enough to build co-authored assets. Someone like him, I can bundle all those activations over 3 months. And we typically do about 8 or 9 activations over 3
Got it.
monthly LinkedIn posts, monthly newsletter blasts, quarterly webinar, and a co-authored asset.
Got
So
it.
you see here, we've given you enough. Nothing works on everyone. That's a really important rule to remember. So when we know that Devin's audience and Devin's messaging resonates with the brand, we got to hit them as many ways as possible. Now, marketers, this is why I love having a conversation with marketers. I sell to marketers. Every marketer can understand is that frequency it's important. One-off post is automatically gone, right? I'm like, we have to repeat, and then hit them with an offer. That's why you'll see my webinars are always in late month 2 or midway month 3 in the campaign. We don't lead with a webinar ever. Month 3 is by that time they've seen Paramark from Devin enough times in the newsletter, in the social posts, and whatever. So we structure it in a way where the frequency can be converted on, right?
Nice.
Multi-channel, multi-month playbook has led to a 90% renewal rate with all brands that pilot with us. 9 times out of 10, they're spending more money with us, with either the same creator for a longer period of time or more creators in general.
Okay, that's great. So now I've got a very structured process in my mind for how to even think about it, how to dip our toes. And it's actually, we did an office hours just like yesterday on the topic of YouTube ads. We had the ex-head of growth at Grammarly, growth marketing at Grammarly, sort of talk about his, best practices on YouTube ads. It was the same exact thing, right? You got to have at least a 2 to 3 month. You need to spend at least $10K per month. And you have to have enough at bats for it to make sense, for it to show up in your data. Otherwise, you're just like giving up without even trying. So, and the other piece that's really interesting is, and I'm connecting it back to sort of a paid, an advertising strategy. We also talked about yesterday in the office hours about how you could get UGC content or influencer content and put money behind it.
Yeah.
Not just the sponsoring of the influencer post itself. So I could totally imagine that, hey, if something's getting a lot of organic reach, you now do a thought leadership ad and you boost, Devin's post and use that for your own ongoing demand gen.
Yeah, 50% of all of our campaigns do that.
Amazing. Look at that.
Yeah. Nice. So the thought leadership ads, depending on there's certain formats that work for this and others that don't. But like, let's say you do video. Video right now on LinkedIn, it's capping at some point. Like the organic reach of video, I think by design.
Okay, wait. I need to pause you on that. Video is absolute nonsense on LinkedIn. Sorry. Like if a LinkedIn PM is listening, I have a lot of friends at LinkedIn actually, and I think you do too. My video posts get like 300 views, 500 views. I'm like, this is great content, you all. I'm like my YouTube audience is nothing compared to my LinkedIn audience, right? I've got like 15,000 followers on LinkedIn. Right. I get more views on YouTube with a 0 audience than I get on LinkedIn. Just something about their algo is just, I think, off in terms of what's happening with video.
Yeah. One thing I love telling, I talk to LinkedIn weekly, by the way. I talk to them weekly. I'm very close to LinkedIn. The reason I have the livelihood I do is because of LinkedIn. The video algo is in calibration mode right now. Right. So if you take a look at like when video first dropped, people were getting like hundreds. It was mental.
I got a 50,000 view on like a TikTok style video, and I was like, "Oh, this is great! Let's go!"
It actually sparked video agencies to start on LinkedIn, and then now they're all hurting because it's like you only got, to your point, 300 views. So what ended up happening, and this is part of like what people don't realize with LinkedIn, is you were inflating the number of impressions. Like they were serving it to everybody, and the engagement. Like if it's not relevant to me, I'm not going to pay. Everyone's engagement rate started tanking. So to the core algorithm, the one that rules all, it's like, oh, we served up Aneesh's content to 100,000 people and 16 people liked it. He must suck. So the next thing he puts out for the next week, let's not serve it to as many people. Yeah. And at that point, it didn't matter if I was putting out video, text-based, anything. For the next week, I'm sort of like in like a purgatory of LinkedIn. Yeah. And LinkedIn realized engagement rates were tanking. And no one from LinkedIn has, I just know because I see the data. This is 100% a wishlist stat for the record, folks. I study 100 campaigns a month. But I started seeing all my people who were predominantly doing video, the next 2 or 3 weeks, their content was getting floored. And I'm like, this is not okay. because LinkedIn's pushing out this narrative of video. I'm like, you're actually hurting your creators in the long run. I think they realized this. Engagement rates were tanking. And then what ends up happening here is what you're seeing now. Let's slow it down. Let's throttle this shit out. And let's make sure the video and content are going in front of the right people.
Right.
And this is what I want to remind people. I'm like, yes, reach went down, but I'd rather 1,000 people who matter see the whole stuff than 100,000 people who couldn't care less about the influencer marketing world. Like,
yeah.
It's nice that they all, nice little Indian guy. Great. Aneesh, thank you. Good.
Great looking Indian guy. There we go.
Great looking Indian guy is fine. But I want the 1,000 buyers for influencer marketing any day. So yes, your reach has gone down, but I can promise you it's going in front of the right people, because LinkedIn, every algorithm is optimizing for one thing. It's your engagement rate.
Yeah. Now, this is also an interesting piece, right? Because if you think about what's happened with, we call it paid social, we call it social media. What's happened outside of maybe LinkedIn, all other, right? Meta, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, there's actually not social left there. It's actually become an attention-based, right? A consumption-based feed where it's all fine-tuned to what Pranav likes. Who cares if Pranav's friends are in there or not? And I'm actually really intrigued because I think LinkedIn is the only place that is left as true social, even though you can debate, like, is it really social, but it's based on like the connections and the influencers. The connections and the followers,
right?
Rather than a truly algorithmic feed where it's all just based on the content that Pranav likes. And, I wonder if there's implications for, and actually why the influencer stuff is interesting on LinkedIn, because you're tapping into their network, into their business relationships, and that makes it really powerful. I don't know where I was going with that, but I just thought it was an interesting observation that LinkedIn is quite different from the other platforms.
It's a timing thing, right? If you look at the number of creators to those that don't, so there's like 1 billion users on LinkedIn now, and only, I think they did a stat recently, 2% of people on LinkedIn are actively posting content.
Yeah.
That's why there's not enough content going out there. Kind of like on Instagram, though, it's the opposite. You have everybody's a creator on Instagram.
Yeah.
And there's so many more people who are doing like the entertaining videos and all that. You're in consumption mode because they have too much inventory. They have too little inventory. There's too much content, and they have to make sure you're staying on there as long as for their ads business.
Yeah.
They're like, we have all the content in the world to just keep you entertained. On LinkedIn, it's actually the opposite. You have so many people who are just lurking. They're the DMers that you were talking about before. They're not going to like your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But they're just watching and they're learning in their own way. But LinkedIn needs more creators. It does. 100%.
Okay, so building on that point, you this is more for my personal learning here. You like you said, you see hundreds of campaigns every month. There's all these like built up, preconceived notions of like, you should only post once a day, things like that. I started experimenting a couple of weeks ago where I'm like, I'm going to post a text-based post in the morning. And I'm going to post a video post in the afternoon or in the evening. And I'm like, are there things like that? Are there things that you're seeing? Or is there no pattern and you could just do whatever the heck you want? Because you also have Nick Power. Have you heard of Nick Power? Have you heard of this? Of course. And he just broke LinkedIn, right? And I'm like curious about, from your perspective, is there a pattern there? Like, what is the secret? Give it to us, Aneesh. What is the secret to cracking LinkedIn?
So what I've noticed with LinkedIn is there's a 3-week look back window. It's a 3-week rolling look back window for the algorithm. So if I've put out videos as my predominant medium or format, my engagement rate is now low, as we discussed. So this means that for the next couple of weeks, my content's going to be crap. It also means that video is not the medium of choice for the algorithm at this time. Like right now, today, as we record this, single image text posts overall are doing the best for engagement rates at this moment.
There we go.
Which means that all the creators who pick up on this, hey, my single image thing crushed it, they're going to put 3 or 4 of those posts out in the read versus the 2 they did.
Yeah.
But now what happens to your feed? If you're the user, everyone's doing single image. Do you remember when everyone did carousels, for example? There was a moment in like,
oh my God, carousels are dead. Nobody's doing carousels anymore.
But it's coming back.
There we go.
The reason why it died is because everyone started doing them, because what I just said, the engagement rates on carousels were through the roof. And algorithm's job, like LinkedIn's algorithm, is very much like Mother Earth. It's like, this is its version of global warming. It's saying if everyone's doing carousels, it's overwhelming to the audience. Let's start tanking carousels.
Yeah.
But this now tells us another format is about to take the throne.
Yep.
This is when I tell my creators, hey, everybody, we've hit the 10-day, 12-day mark for carousels. We have an internal Slack channel that we're going to be sending all this stuff to. Right now, single image text is climbing. Get ready. So what this means now is we now know you have like a 12 to 14-day window to ride the crap out of single image text.
Yeah.
Because in 10 days, video is going to take over, or carousel is going to take over, or whatever. So there's a rotating ad format. There's 4 formats you need to master. You got carousel, short form video, so that's less than 90 seconds, not 60, single image text, and then long form text in paragraph format. If you can get your content repurposed to those 4 mediums or formats, that's what you're rotating, as LinkedIn's constantly saying this is too much or too little.
All right. What a great note to sum it all up. So that was an absolute masterclass in all things influencer and LinkedIn. I think that's great. I have a couple of questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. So what do you think is the future? So we talked about sort of the current state of what's happening on LinkedIn. Are there things, and, obviously hard to predict the future, but if you had to make a bet on where will we be from a LinkedIn perspective, a year, 2 years, 3 years out, what are the things that you would bet on or bet against?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more D2C brands doing campaigns on LinkedIn. At the end of the day, it's not just the B2B folks that care about these buyers and influencers.
I love that. Aneesh, sorry, I'm going to pause you on that because I remember seeing Rolex ads on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That happened.
100%. And they probably phased out, because at the time that they did those ads, LinkedIn doesn't have a strong conversion API that the Facebooks and the Pinterests and the all the other platforms do.
You know your stuff. Conversion API. Boom. Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was a Pinterest for not just a pretty face, folks. Okay. So when you see all those types of things, it's hard for Rolex to justify ROI, and sometimes brands like that don't always want to invest in awareness, right? So what's happening now, though, I see LinkedIn is investing in infrastructure to make it easier to measure these types of things. You're going to get APIs and data points that will funnel into MMMs.
Yep.
Right. You're going to see that happening.
Yep.
They're already investing in the creator API. They've released it to 11 vendors. And that's they just passed the beta for that. So beta, that's out. They're going to be releasing even more APIs for those that run LinkedIn ads. You'll hear about that in a couple of weeks. So there's all these things that are coming out that are going to support going lower funnel on LinkedIn. And the moment they hit that tipping point, the brands will be able to attribute true ROAS, right?
That's amazing.
But even now, there's this cultural shift to we need to innovate on social. All the other platforms are saturated or polarizing with horrible topics, not brand safe, all that stuff. Too many bots. What's real? What's fake? LinkedIn's the next frontier. Let's go after the 6-figure CRO, who's the person behind the professional. I want to go after the person behind the professional. So you're going to see a lot more of that happening in the future.
I love your prediction. We actually had the product manager from LinkedIn a couple of episodes back on the podcast to talk about conversion lift, because they launched that and they just went GA, I think. So you're absolutely right on better measurement and more accurate sort of. They have to. They don't have a choice. Yeah.
They're investing in things like thought leadership ads and connected TVs now here as well.
Yeah,
phenomenal. So when you have these types of things, you need to be able to prove incrementality and
no serious marketer, especially on the D2C side, will sign up for it without it. So it makes sense.
Yeah,
that's a good prediction. All right, we shall see what happens, but I can get behind it. All right, one last question, and then we'll bring it to a close. So if you could run absolutely any type of marketing experiment that you wanted to, what would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good one. I'm waiting for the day, kind of like similar to what we just talked about, but I'm waiting for the day where LinkedIn can reveal the quality score of your follower and engagement and first degree connection. Sorry. I've told him that John Barrows, if you're listening, this one's for you. He loves this one. But we, as like the 40 creators and I, we talk about this stuff all the time, like our wish list. If we could do this one thing on LinkedIn, it'd be incredible, right? So if I could run this experiment, we have this feature, perfect world, I'd be able to see, like, for whatever I post, who are the people who are my loyalists?
Yeah.
What's the strength of the follower score for this group versus that group? And that not only helps me reinforce my content strategy, it helps me run offers that drives commerce. It helps me do upsells to the brand deals. Like, there's just so much. Which group's not reacting with me at all after following? How do I, like, this is just a benefit to LinkedIn if they were to give this score up, right? Maybe I trim the fat. Maybe there's hey, anyone who hasn't looked at my shit for 30 days, 60 days, I can just automatically unfollow.
Right.
And guess what happens? My engagement rate goes up because the denominator has decreased. So there's all these things that would be so clutch if I could get the quality score of my connections and followers. That would be the best experiment to run.
That is so cool. Does any platform do that? Does, like, Facebook allow you to do that? Instagram? Like, this should be a default feature on. This should be a
startup. This is the second business we do. So we have
there we go,
collector card, and now we have
to do the collector card. Like, that is just such a clutch idea.
You know, that needs to just be our first collaboration together. Like, we're going to come up with, like, the top 100 subject matter expert NFT style. Oh, I love it.
All right, there you go. Aneesh, how do people find you?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I hope that's a given. We have a newsletter we just launched as well. So if you want some of these insights that we're going to be sharing every couple of weeks, we just see what's happening, send it out. But honestly, LinkedIn's the best way to get a hold of me. But I really appreciate you having me on the show today. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Aneesh Lal on LinkedIn, and you will see the Jerry Maguire of LinkedIn. So that's the title that he goes by. Go check out the Wishly group and all the amazing creators. I think I know many of them. And I'm pretty pumped. I'm going to take all the lessons from here, and we're going to make a bet on some influencer stuff coming soon. So thanks for being here, Aneesh, and we'll do this again in a few months.
Awesome. Appreciate you.
All right, folks. That was Aneesh Lal, the founder and CEO of the Wishly Group. And if you're looking to improve or expand on your creator partnerships, on your influencer partnerships in B2B, you know who to reach out to. So hope you got some practical tips on all things creator, and tune in again next week for another episode of Brandformance.